Hi, and welcome to another lightning lecture. This is Rene speaking. Today we want to talk about how to customize the toolbar on Android. Maybe you have already attended our class at Xamarin University, that is Android 180, where we cover the basics. That is, how would I add a toolbar to an activity? How would I add a back item? And how would I populate the options menu and set a title? Now here in this lightning lecture, we're going to go one step further. I would like to discuss with you how you can set the color, how you can adjust the style of the toolbar, how you can add a custom view into it, how you can customize your action items. So without further delay, let's switch over and get started. Let's start by looking at the application that I'm going to use here today to demonstrate the toolbar customization. If you have attended our class Android 180 here at Xamarin University, and you know this app, you're already familiar with it. It's our recipes app. You find that in the lab resources. You've got a list of recipes here. You can select one of them. It takes you to the ingredient screen. And we see this is the final version that we create in that toolbar/app bar class. It already has all the navigation parts in here. We can navigate back. We are showing an icon here. We are showing the current title of the recipe. We can toggle the favorite status in here, change the number of servings. All right, we have single selection, and we have an overflowing menu where we can navigate to an about screen. Nothing new so far. You can see here in the background that I've opened the corresponding XML file for this screen, details XML. It contains our toolbar. It has got an ID. We have placed the toolbar at the very top. That's where it should be by default. That's standard. Now, if we look at our code behind file, the detailsactivity.cs file, we find that the toolbar is accessed here using find view by ID. We update the toolbar's title, and we set the toolbar as the support action bar in there. All pretty standard. And now let's start by customizing the appearance of the toolbar itself. The next step will then be to customize the menu items that I've just showed to you, where I can change the number of servings, etc. But first, the toolbar itself. So what I want to do is define a custom style, which means I switch back here to my details screen. And in that details screen, if it's going to open it, there we go. We look at our toolbar, and we will apply a custom style in here. And you could do this by setting the app.theme, and we're going to point this to a style which has to be defined. I'm going to call that custom toolbar style, like that. Now, where to put that? We already have a folder here that's called values. Let's just right click. We want to add a new XML file in there. There we have it, and I call this styles.xml. Wait for Visual Studio to complete. There we go. This is an XML file. This styles file must follow a specific structure. It has to start with a resources tag, close that again, and in there we put our style. And I called that custom toolbar style, like that. Did I call it style or theme? Let's go back and check. Custom toolbar style. There we have it. Now I'm just going to put 2 items in there. If you wonder what exactly can I set in here, what would be valid values that I can use here, you could check that out if you go to developer.android.com, and there you will find all the possible values for material design. And it will tell you that one of the things you can set is an item that is named Android text color primary. There are others like accent color and another one that is called background. And we want to just try 2 of them, text color primary and background. And maybe I want to kind of invert the color scheme here to show the effect, which means our primary text color, that will be something, yeah, pretty dark, maybe, like that. Now let's copy that. And we set the background to something very light, maybe like that. So with that in place, we have everything that we need. Now let's run the app again. Don't worry about that. I don't know what it's complaining about. It says here the Raz Auto theme attribute is not declared. Well, it is. Here we have Raz Auto. I don't know what it's complaining about, actually. So let's run this. And it has deployed. Let me switch over here to my device. I select one of the recipes. Now we can see it has indeed influenced the appearance of our toolbar. We now have this light background, and we have a dark font here for the title. I can check in here. You see the servings, they are also picking up the same color scheme. Dark font color here, dark text color on a light background. The next thing we look at is how can we add a custom view to the toolbar? To do that, I'm going to switch over here to my details activity, and in here, gain access to the support action bar. So if I just type support action bar here, we use IntelliSense, we will find a method. If I just search for custom here, that's called set custom view. Now what that's going to do is it allows you to place as the name clearly says here, a custom view into the toolbar. There's space on the toolbar for this view. And just for the sake of demonstration, let's add a button in there, right? We're going to create that here in code. Say this is a new button that we have here using the current context, and we have to set some properties. I'm just going to assign the text that says click, and we need layout params here. That's going to be new layout params, and we want to go view group, not view group dot layout params dot, let's go with wrap content horizontally and vertically. I'm just going to copy that. There we go. And then we add this button in here. And we need even more layout params here. And you see those are from the V7 library again. So let's new them up. It's going to be a new Android .support .v7 .app .action bar .layout params. There we go. And well, in here we're gonna specify action bar dot layout params dot wrap content, and repeat that once more. There we go. Let's see, that should do the trick. Now if I was to run this as it is, you won't see the custom view. And you might then wonder, and the secret is that in here, if you look for support action bar and we search again for custom view, we'll find that there's another method which is called set display show custom enabled. And that method means hide or show that custom view that you have potentially set. So let's make sure we call true here, and I'm going to run this. Here it is. Let's navigate to our second screen and notice how we have our button in here now. You might run out of space, kind of clear. If you add too much to the toolbar, you'll have to decide whether you maybe not want to show a title or not want to show an icon, because it might look strange, like in this case here. Now here I can click that button. I haven't set up a click handler, so it's not going to do anything, but this allows you to put an additional, well, customized view in there in case you need it. Let's stop here, and the next thing we look at is how can I customize the action items, the things that are directly showing up on the right hand side of the toolbar, and how can I add my own layout in there. Customizing an action items view can mean that we either add our own layout that we specify in here in the layout folder, but it could also mean that we use a predefined view that somebody else has generated. Let's say here in our menu, where we define our items, our action items, we would like to have one additional item that allows our users to perform a search operation. Maybe we would have a long list of recipes, and clicking that action item, that would expand the item and show an entry field where users can type. And this is a feature that is built into Android and works pretty well with the toolbar. Let me paste this in here. There's no point in typing all of this. You know what this is about. Just create another item, give it an ID. Here I named it Action Search. I gave it a title. You see it's no different from the other items that we have. We provide an icon in here. We say we always want this to be visible. And now here's the new thing. We set the app.actionView class attribute. This is an attribute that allows us to provide a fully qualified class name here, and we point this to the Android support v7 widget search view. Now watch this. What happens if I deploy that? I'm going to run this on device. Here's the simulator. Again, going to navigate to a specific recipe. You can clearly see the new icon has been added here. And now watch this. What happens if I tap this search icon here? See how everything on the toolbar is being replaced by an entry field? Now I can type in here, and I would then have to wire up this search view and react to it. So of course it's not searching automatically. It doesn't know what to do with the entered information here. But what I can do is I would go in here into my onCreate options menu method, and I would find the search item that I have added, get access to it. I could then cast that to, what is it called? Let's quickly go back there. I could cast that to a support v7 widget search view and then have access to all of its properties. And I could set up an event, or I can install a listener that would inform me about the user typing into this search view. And then I can kick off a search. That's one way of customizing the behavior of the action items. And now I'm going to comment this here out again. And I want to show you another variation. And that is that in here, you can directly specify a layout. So we can add something into here in our layout folder, and it will then display that instead of the original version, which is either text only or the icon. The attribute that we need here is called app action layout. And you can point this to any layout. Now I have already created one. Let's have a look at it. We find it here. It's in the layout folder, and I called it customaction.axml. Let me open that. And you see, this is nothing special. Again, I'm trying to demo the concepts here. I'm not the best designer. What I have here is a linear layout, and I made it horizontal for no particular reason, and it's not necessary at all actually, because I only have one child element in here. But anyway, you get the idea. You can provide whatever layout you want, and I put a text view in here. And I set the text attribute to click. So whenever I have a custom item with that custom layout, it would show a text view that says click. Now let's try this out. We just go in here and we point this here to add layout / custom action. Now there's one small thing that I need to point out here. Initially, when I tried that, I used camel casing. So I had an uppercase C in here for custom and an uppercase A in there for action. And of course I named my file differently, also with uppercase C and A. The problem is that this is currently not working. If you try to use uppercase letters in here, you will get an error. It will tell you that the layout cannot be found, although it's there. The reason behind this is that natively on Android, you are not allowed to use any uppercase characters at all. And if you wonder now, well, there are uppercase characters in here. Why do they work? Well, this is Xamarin Android. They make it possible to use uppercase characters. However, this scenario here is where we're setting the action layout. In this specific scenario, it does not work. Now with that in place, let's try and run this. See what we get. Switching over to the device. And it is already showing the correct screen. And you can clearly see where we had our image only before, it is now showing our click text view. The next thing that is kind of obvious is that, I mean, it says click, you want to click it. And if you try that, nothing's going to happen. I can even go here to the details activity, and you see I have got a breakpoint in here in the on options item selected, and the breakpoint is not hit. So let me show you that again. I click here, nothing's happening. Whereas if I click another icon, like this one here, it hits the breakpoint. So why is it now no longer reacting to input? Because we have assigned an item ID, everything's in place. If I look here at our actions menu, you see things have not changed. It's still add to favorites. So the reason here is that the moment you provide your own layout, you have to take care of capturing the tap event or click event and kind of forward it. And I want to show you how to do that now. That's our last step in here. We look at the onCreate options menu, and in here we try to get access to our menu item. We can do this by using menu.findItem, and then we provide it with the resource that we're looking for. So that's resource.id.add2favorites. That's exactly the one that I was looking for. This is going to give us the favorites item. And once we have that, we can get access to the action view. Here you see that's a property. In here, we need to react to, well, a click. You can either use a click event, like what I've just shown here, or you would use a set on click listener. Either one works. I mean, let's just use the event. I'll go ahead, and then you would either implement a dedicated method here, or, I mean, you can also, of course, create a lambda expression here, be sender arguments. Now, what to do with that? Well, it's as easy as calling our on options item selected. I would just do this here and pass in our favorite item, like that. I can get rid of this here again. And now if I deploy this, we'll see that it's going to hit our on options item selected. Navigating to our detailed screen, click, and indeed we end up in here, and that's our item ID. So it should go in there to the add favorites. If I step into this, and you see this worked as expected. In here, we notice there's another thing. So here we are setting the favorite drawable. We are updating that. And if you look at this helper method, what it does is it finds our add to favorites item and it updates the icon. Now, of course, if I continue here, this will not have an effect anymore because we are providing our own custom view. So just that you are aware, if you have code like that, you will have to update it. You will have to, again, go to the action view and update your action view. Maybe you have a linear layout in your action view and one of the items or one of the child items in there, that would be an image that you then update. Right. So you see, this is, yeah, it's possible to customize these action menu items, but it involves a bit more of work, manual work. So the general recommendation is that you stick to the standards. Nevertheless, I find it important to know that customization is possible, and having this manual setup here is not the only thing that you got to be aware of. The thing is, if we look at our actions menu here, the item that I customized is one that sits directly on the toolbar. So what now if I just take this here, this app action layout parameter or attribute, and I apply it to something that is a submenu. You can see here that we have our second item in here, which is called servings. That defines a submenu and it groups a couple of items together in that submenu. And here for the first one, I'm setting the custom action. And I'm going to run this again to show you what happens. It opens the submenu and notice how it's completely ignoring our custom action. Still showing one serving, which is the title here. And I did a bit of research and it turns out this is not possible. You cannot use the action layout inside a submenu. And the reason seems to be that what you see here, if it's rendered like that, it is no longer an action item. So they are only action items if they are shown directly on the toolbar. And since it's not an action item, no action layout will be used. The next question would then, of course, be, well, if I can't customize it like that, how would I customize it if I absolutely need that? And I found the answer, and the correct way is to react to a click on this item here and then use a pop-up menu, which is a separate type that is available on Android. Basically, you would completely disable the default functionality that you get from the toolbar and from this menu structure here. Show a pop-up in here, and then inside the pop-up, you can have your custom layout. Now again, this is something that is possible, but it's definitely not recommended. I'll put a link to this into the README file. You'll find it there, pointing to a Stack Overflow question. And in case you want to implement that, you're welcome to try that out. And that's it. We have reached the end of this lightning lecture. If you still have questions, check out the Xamarin forums. That's forums.xamarin.com. Or of course, you can contact me directly. My email address can be seen here.